Alongside Mike Palm, I am Tim Murray. It is VSiN PrimeTime. It's our pleasure to be joined in studio by Zayd Hussein. You can follow him on Twitter at ZAYD_HUSSEIN. A Chicago native in town this week. Zayd, appreciate you stopping by, man.
It's my pleasure, man. It's great to hang out with you guys.
And we have seen you on First Strike with Dave Ross. We have some time. Maybe we'll hit on a pretty good card in UFC 296, which is coming up this weekend. But you are currently in, 55th? Tied for 55th?
Yeah, it's a huge cluster up there. Tied for 55th right now.
45, 24, and 1. So just before we get into Week 15 and how you're looking to attack things, your process about going and selecting your 5 games each week. Take us through that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so early in the season was kind of the reason why I started really hot. I would say the biggest thing for me is finding teams that are undervalued in the market and attacking it. And I looked at teams early in the season which had success were the Ravens. I like them a lot. Teams fading early was Jacksonville. I'm able to just go game by game, break down a process of who I think is right on that given week. I mean, when you look at the situational plays, who's coming in on short weeks, who has the injuries, everything about breaking down a game is just a process of step by step, how the defense is looking injury-wise, how the offense is looking injury-wise, and attacking it based on that and based on the evaluation of the market.
You were telling us that in the first quarter you had a shot to win it all.
Yes, so first quarter I took a really, really bad beat. It's probably the worst beat. I mean, I'm 22 years old, and it was a $150,000 beat, which hurts here. But funny story is I started off 9-1 from weeks 1 and 2, and the third week of the season, I forgot to submit my picks, and this is a shout-out to Dave Sherapan. He actually called me because I use him as a proxy, him and Matt Peralt, shout-out to BVB, and them. He called me because I forgot to submit my picks that morning, and I right away woke up from the call, submitted my picks, and ended up going 4-1 to be live for the last week. And when I started, I had everything correct except Atlanta against Jacksonville, which everybody had Jacksonville. I had Atlanta. So if Atlanta was able to win that game, I move up, everybody moves down one, and I take first place outright.
But you're still hanging around 45, 24, and 1. So let's get to this week and how we're looking at it. And, you know, the quarterback situations, Zayd, have been, it's brutal. Like, you look all around, and I don't know if you're looking to attack it. Mike, when do the Circa numbers lines come out?
Thursdays at 10.
Thursday.
Pacific.
Okay, so we're still waiting for those lines to come out. But Vegas and Los Angeles, for you, how much are you going to adjust your line knowing that Easton Stick is making his first NFL career start? And then we get the news today that maybe it's not Aiden O'Connell. Maybe it's Jimmy Garoppolo. So, look, the beauty of betting, right, you don't have to bet every game. So maybe this is a game you stay away. But I'm curious your kind of method for the first game of Week 15 here and tomorrow night.
So for me, this game, like you hit it on the head, I would say it's a stay-away game. For me, I'm more attacking the Steelers, honestly, for this week. Just making a shift Steelers at like +1.5 right now you could get.
Yep.
I think Mitchell Trubisky now coming in, he has more time to prepare. Obviously, he had the short week. Now he gets time to prepare against a Colts team who everybody's really been scoring on and had tons of success against. So I think attacking the Steelers here at +1.5 is value. I think that they win this game outright and score a ton of points.
Have you used a Thursday game at all this year?
I have not.
It's such a disadvantage.
Yeah.
To not have the info from Thursday night, Friday, and Saturday morning on injuries and that. Talk to me about how your success in the contest does or does not translate to your success betting cash.
You know, for me, I'm mostly betting what I'm playing in the contest. I mean, we're putting our 5 best picks that we think are available, so I'm attacking the best games. Same thing, really. And props, for me, I've stayed away from a lot this year, so I haven't really been focused on props, more of sides, and sides I'm doing really well this season.
Zayd Hussein joining us here on VSiN PrimeTime. Catch him on First Strike as well. You can catch it on his Twitter feed there. Him and Dave Ross breaking down the UFC 296 card. We were just talking about Buffalo. I'm curious where you stand on this Buffalo team because, you know, Mike and I was trying to make the pitch to Mike, and I think I was semi-successful and looking at the possibility of them winning this division when you look at the remaining 4 games. But let's key in on this weekend. Cowboys are as hot as any team in the NFL. They're a bit different when they hit the road than they are at home, undefeated at home. They're right now catching 2 in Buffalo. Buffalo coming off that, win. A little bit of controversy, obviously, with Kansas City. How do you look at Buffalo and Dallas on Sunday?
So for me, this is now we're getting towards where we look at teams having to must-win type of games.
Oh, yeah.
And towards the end of the season now, I'm changing my attention to, okay, who needs to win and who doesn't. So the Bills are a team that really need to win here. And you mentioned it already with the Cowboys having so much success at home. Now they're traveling to Buffalo, which they played 3 straight home games. They travel to Buffalo. It's a must-win spot. You're not on the turf. You're not flying around in good, in a stadium. This is a game where, I mean, even when you look at the Cowboys, I mean, who have they beat? They beat Washington, Carolina, the Giants. The Eagles game was definitely a breakout game, but
yep.
I think this is a really good fate spot against the Cowboys, and I'm taking the Bills in the must-win spot at 2.5.
Zayd, you mentioned how closely packed this competition is. I mean, 50th and 3rd is separated by 2 games.
Yeah.
At this point in the year with 4 weeks left, are you looking for some contrarian plays where you'll be on the opposite side of the majority of contestants that are above you?
Yeah, I think this is a point in the year where you have to take the risks. I mean, if you're just picking what everybody else is picking, you're going to stay right there. So I'm definitely here to win it. I'm not here to just try to place in the top 50, 100. I'm trying to win here.
Once again, Zayd Hussein joining us here on VSiN Primetime. All right, a couple more spots because I do want to get, before we let you run, some thoughts on UFC 296. A couple spots that we were talking about Survivor, and let's hit on the DeVito magic, right? You talk about trying to fade spots, right? Everybody on Primetime sees this, magical story with the family and the agent and all of this and that. And now, as Mike, you were alluding to, now it's going to be a different ball game, right? You're going down to the Dome. New Orleans isn't a team that I necessarily love, but I'm just curious, like we saw a couple weeks ago, right? Josh Dobbs got all this hype. Oh, man, it's working out for him in Minnesota. He lays an egg in Chicago, or against Chicago at home. What do we do with DeVito here? Are you buying in on Tommy Cutlets, or is this time to fade the New York Giants?
I think most people are looking to fade. For me, playing this in the contest is just so risky. I don't have I can't confidently back the Saints as well. I mean, you look at what DeVito's done. He hasn't had any turnovers in his last couple of starts. He's playing the way he's supposed to play, and that's managing the game and making plays when they need to be made. And this is a game where I would lean Giants or pass.
If you were in Survivor and you had to choose between taking the Saints at home to the Giants or taking Atlanta against Carolina this week, where would you go?
Oh, man, that's tough. I'd hate to be in that situation. I think at this point...
Correction, I would love to be in that situation.
I think at this point, man, you got to go with the Saints. I mean, like I said, even though I would take the Giants with the points, this is a game the Saints should cover more than not. I'm not backing Atlanta to beat anybody. They've played so many closely contested games. I mean, if you look at what they've done throughout the year, have they had any real blowouts? I mean, every game is close. I don't want to be in that situation. I'm taking the Saints if I'm still in Survivor.
7 have the Rams at home against Washington. The only worry I have about that game, I don't trust Washington. I think they're a bit on, as I'll say this, Mike will get a snicker out of it, quit watch. But it's a spot where Washington, I like the spot for Washington. They're coming off a bye. Rams just had that brutal loss against Baltimore. So I think that's an interesting spot to look at Washington here. But, all right, Zayd, before we let you run, by the way, follow him on Twitter, at Zayd Hussein. Let's hit on UFC 296. I'm not going to lie. UFC, not a strength of mine, so you tell me what to do here. You look at a pretty closely contested main event, Colby Covington, Leon Edwards. What's your favorite play right now for UFC 296?
So there's 2 plays. I'll start with the co-main event because it's my biggest bet of the night, which is Alexander Pantoja, who is minus around 175, 180. He opened around minus 225. Pantoja has been absolutely dominant. He's fighting Brandon Royval, who he's beaten in the past by submission. When you look at what Pantoja's done throughout his last couple of fights of being able to take people down and just get their back and submit them, he's second to none here. And Royval has shown that he hasn't really had the ability to defend takedowns, so I think Pantoja will be able to take him down at will. I like him at submission at plus 155 if you want to get cute with the prop. So Pantoja is one of my biggest plays of the night. And for me, under in the Cody Garbrandt-Brian Kelleher fight, under 2.5 rounds.
Under 2.5 rounds. Hey, Zayd, great stuff, man. At ZAYD_HUSSEIN. Keep it up, man. 45, 24-1. 22 years old. Putting me to shame. This is ridiculous. Zayd, appreciate it, man.
Thanks, brother.
There he is. Zayd Hussein. Great stuff from him in the top 50 in Circa Millions.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.